Hello, everybody. Today's guest of our page Ballet Through Lines is Slovak dancer, choreographer, and artistic director Mário Radačovský. As a soloist, he danced at home and also abroad with Netherlands Dance Theatre and Les Grands Ballets Canadiens. He holds MA choreography, and he made choreographies for different companies at home and abroad, for Diablo Ballet in San Francisco and Latvia National Ballet, to name just a few. For 10 years, he has been an artistic director of the ballet of the National Theatre Brno. Welcome, very welcome to our interview. And Tatiana, the word is yours.
Hello. I'm very happy to talk to you this afternoon, Mario. We are grateful to have you with us, and we are continuing our talks with great names of ballet and dance from all around the world, from all the generations, and from far and from close. So you are now in Brno, which is quite close to Slovenia, and yes, after all those years around the world and your work that you've done around the world, you are home and you are doing your big work with the company and with the dancers in your country. But how basically started everything in your career? You were first a dancer and you danced with great companies and great choreographers, and so we can expect to hear now a lot about those experiences as well, good and bad.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to do interview with you ladies. It's always pleasant and it's nice when you're asked to do these kind of things and to share the experience and everything what you named before. Then I'm realizing like I'm getting older because there is already quite things behind my back. So I guess I'm getting there, and sooner I will have a gray hair, maybe no hair at all, and then I will get fatter, and then I will be not doing my job anymore. The time goes very quickly. That's one of the things. But actually, I started in this very small town in Slovakia, because originally I'm Slovak, so actually I'm foreigner in the Czech Republic. I'm at home in a sense, because before it used to be Czechoslovakia where I was born, but then after separation I'm Slovak, and then I'm working in the Czech Republic. But it was my aunt what she brought me to dancing, it was not my wish when I was a young boy. Because that city where I was born there is a shoemaker town, Bata town, this famous Czech shoemaker, you have even shops around the world. So we went for a trip to Bratislava and they took me to school. So that was surprising for my parents, for my aunt, for everybody. And then I became ballet dancer, and then I had a quite nice career, which you mentioned some of it. So yeah, it's nice to be back in the territory where I used to grow up and where I used to dance also, and kind of try to build something, because of course from the point now I will go to point of artistic director. Now this year is going to be 1st of November is going to be 10 years ago I was appointed as the artistic director here, and then yeah, it's a long road behind us, what we try to build, and it's a continuous work which has to be done. Otherwise, I feel like once you start to be happy or satisfied what you achieve, I think that's the end of your progress. So that's what I can say at the beginning. Like, it was my aunt who changed my life completely, and I was very lucky and fortunate. Many women in this métier, in this environment, changed my life as well. So I'm a very fortunate guy.
And then after you finished your education, you went abroad. What happened? Why? this
You know,
happened?
I started in Slovak National Ballet after I finished the education as a solist. I was very lucky because there was also a change of generation. So I came as a young 18 years old boy who was appointed immediately to do lead roles in Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty or Giselle, and I love those things. I love classical ballet, but it was in '89, just a couple of months before our revolution in Czechoslovakia at that time. And then I missed, after a couple of years, I danced for 1 year here in Brno, where I'm directing as a principal dancer and as a guest to National in Prague. But Rosalind Anderson, she saw me because after revolution, that was one of the first programs of Mr. Kyliána work to be back, presented back in Czechoslovakia at that time. So she saw me and she said to me, like, it should be great. I should go and show myself to Mr. Kyliána. And I was fortunate and lucky enough to get the job immediately. So then from Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia, at that time I moved to Netherlands Dance Theater for 7 years of my life, which was the most beautiful and most important years of my career. Because to be next to Mr. Kyliána on daily basis is something what dancers dream for. And I was fortunate and lucky, one of those 32 dancers in main company, to spend time and be next to his creations or do all his old ballets, which is stunning for me, that way how he progresses as an artistic director. So yeah, there was another woman who changed my life. So that was Rosalind Anderson, his ballet mistress, but she convinced me to go there, and Mr. Kyliána came to look at me, and he gave me the job in Holland.
I'm just curious how it feels to be so young and to have big roles in major ballet productions. Did this frighten you, or you were so courageous, of course, to take the responsibility to be on stage, like maybe with one shoe on and one shoe off, because we know a career is short, but usually dancers go step by step. How was this with you?
As I said, that was probably also, I was lucky in a sense, like there was change of generations. So they look for new young prospect dancers. And I think they saw in me that person and that guy who is able to hold the pressure and has the ability to do classical ballet well. I love classical ballet. To be honest with you, I still think is one of the most beautiful things what is existing on the earth, and nothing can surpass it if it's done well and if it's done with excitement. Because often I hear that argument that classical ballet is old. It's not at all. It's not old at all. It's still evolving, and it is still produced on a high level. It's still gorgeous, beautiful thing, because there is so many elements you have to know. You have to have a craft. You have to have body. You have to have artistry. And and it's something to be a leader, let's say in Giselle, to do Albrecht or Siegfried or Desiree. There are prince roles, but at the same time, there are different princes, it's not the same. And often it's mistaken, I guess, now by young generations, like they dance their roles the same way. They don't have a time to educate themselves. So go back to your question. I was excited to do those roles because that was my passion, and still is. Even now I'm old and I cannot do those things anymore because I'm old, but still when I see classical ballet done properly and rightly, and it's all elegancy and efficiency and accuracy on stage, still for me is the most beautiful technique, because you are so naked on stage. Everything is visible. Every single small error is visible. So it's much harder than, I don't want to download the other styles. Let's say you have to be good, but perhaps for certain choreographers, you don't need to have as great body. For certain roles, you have different costumes. You can cover up certain things which are not given to you. But classical ballet, it's and I also believe, let's say, give you an example, like when you know how to play beautifully Mozart and Beethoven and I don't know, all those great guys then you can do basically anything. it's hardly it goes other way around, like when you start with contemporary music and you start to then understand what is the classical past. I think it's the process of educating yourself and be open to educate yourself constantly, not just so like I was young, probably ambitious enough, but that opportunity, I believe, also opportunity comes once, and then you take it. It's given to you, or it's meant to be. You take it or you leave it, and I was fortunate to take it. So. And as I said, there was also changing, so I didn't have to wait, because sometimes in companies you have to wait because you have a lot of great principles and it takes longer to get somewhere to roll. So I was very fortunate that way.
Do you teach about those things, your young dancers in your junior company that you have now? Do you teach them about that? Do you tell them how? Things you were explaining just now, that anyways, yes, it's a historical ballet in a way. It's a certain coda and the ways it should be done, but that it means another way of interpretation. And of course, bodies are different, minds are different. Do you tell those kids about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I follow the Mr. Kyliána message, be honest all the time. The honesty is the most important element of our being, especially in dance. Of course, sometimes can be perhaps cruel and then very difficult to handle. But still, I think without honesty, there is not artistry. You have to be honest. You have to speak honestly about those things. And not even to juniors. I also, when I teach class or when I coach those roles, which are dear to me, I oblige them to actually study. I oblige them to write to me about Siegfried, let's say, or about, I don't know, Aurora, or I think I'm interested also from their points of view, how they see that role, what they know about that role, what they know about the character they're portraying. I think it's so important to educate and then to have a broad vision, because it's very simply to say Siegfried, it can be, it's a rich prince in Germany, from the German environment. Well, it's completely different prince than Albrecht. Albrecht is much more mature, from different era, different, brought up different ways. Siegfried is young kid looking for love or be loved or finally discover love, passion about love. So I think those things are very important and I want. I don't, of course, now because you have internet and you have a YouTube and everything, everybody watch these stars and how, but I want them to find themselves, how they will do it. Yes, in the beginning, perhaps the copy of someone, let's say like Vadim Muntagirov, or I don't know, now I saw Ricardo Castellano, or, you have many beautiful dancers around the world. Yes, it's great to have a kind of link and then see, but most important in me is like looking artistry with themselves of my young dancers or the dancers who are portraying these roles, and that role should become them, so they should live that role through their every single molecule of their body. So I'm almost forcing them and obliging them to do certain things, but perhaps are not used. But I think hopefully it extend their view how they should do and how they should work with these roles, because they are much more complex than they seem to be.
So this is one part of your job, but after you finished dancing, you dedicated to choreographies. So you started to do choreographies, and then you also finished your studies in this area. And how I can see the combination of the mind of the dancer with the mind of the choreographer. This is what you have. So when you choreograph, probably you think a lot about all those things you were telling us about right now. How is it with you when you work on new choreography, when you have the new topic? You research it deeply, don't you?
Definitely, I think it's important. I mean, when I danced in Holland, in Netherlands Dance Theater, I thought like I will try to do choreography, but it was such a huge home with all those big names, and of course, Mr. Kyliána is my hero and my god. So I was afraid to do that. I never did it in Holland when I danced in Holland, even workshops and ateliers. I guess I was too scared to just fail. Actually, I had to move to Canada and I started to choreograph in Canada because I was far away from NDT and that big pressure, like, you know, to be good. So, and I started and I had nice friends, but I told them, like, if it's disaster, if it's terrible, they should tell me honestly, like, it's terrible and I should never touch it and never do it again. So I always surround myself with those honest people. To me, even as a dancer, either as an artistic director, it's important to have that constructive opposition in you. And for some reason they like it, so they give me this courage to continue in Canada. And my former prima ballerina Annick Bissonnet was like first kind of ballerina what I created with, and it was such. She gave me also so much. You know, confidence to do that, and then small successes and more things come along. But I think it's important. Like, of course, it's clear for me my hero and my type of the choreography and the style is like my example is Mr. Kylián. That's my. I wish to be as close as possible to this genius guy. Of course. That talent of what he has and that given from God is enormous. So I will be more than happy to achieve at least some of it close to that kind of level. But the essence of aesthetics, essence of the great partnering and stunning, almost like it goes like the butter on the bread, the way how he used the dancers and how it's logical, it's and how fluent and how musical, probably the best. Mr. Balanchi, Mr. Kylián, maybe a couple of them, maybe Nacha Duata, similar with the musicality and feel the music. It's almost like you cannot surpass this incredible way how Jiri knows music, how he understands music, how he hears it million times before when he goes to studio to work with the dancers. So I try to, as much as, you know, like use those key elements to prepare myself a very similar way, of course, with different outcome or results, but, you know, that's my motivation. And then aesthetics, and then the fact you have to know, and it's not just moving for moving, it has to have a reason. At least I always felt, and Jiří, when he worked with us and explained himself, when he creates something, there was also a lot of thought behind it, a lot of studying behind it, a lot of, let's say, painters, pictures, movies. I mean, this guy is incredible. He's like walking encyclopedia of art. It's almost scary. I remember once we went to Paris Opera for 2 weeks, and I went sometimes with him to see museums, and he knew everything, like everything. In New York also, he went to so many places. It was almost frightening, because sometimes when he asked me some questions and I didn't reply correctly, he was mad. He was like, how come you don't know this? How come you have to study? You have to, you know, go, and our internet is such a great facility. So yeah, all those elements play into that. I think the preparation is the key element to success. And then actually the fact when you care, when you want to present something to other people, because sometimes what I feel like it's like there is a lot of nice young choreographers. They have sometimes fantastic movements, but I feel that, yeah, movements, that's great, but and what do you do with those movements? What do you do? Why you are doing this? Or what do you want to tell us? Is there a message behind? It doesn't have to be storyline necessarily, but that I always feel as a let's say now consumer of the art, I want to understand why I have to look at it. What if there is any message? Is there is something what I have to be taught or I can learn from? So sometimes it's missing, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but that's
no. It's very nice conversation, and actually something different than we had up until now. It's about the creation, about the process that you go through, and yeah, I would like to know what are the major topics that drive you to when you do some work? What are your questions? What do you want to? What's your message you want to give?
You know, let's say I give you an example of my thought process. Let's say, like I did the full length about Mr. Beethoven, which is a huge topic. It was not so long ago. Was like this huge anniversary of his, but the music of the Ninth Symphony, which is symphony of the symphonies. Nobody will ever surpass this. It's the fact the guy was basically deaf, and then it did kind of music like this, which is like stunning to me. I also believe there is more than us, so I feel like there is some kind of almost like as he have a connection to God or somewhere, so he could hear it the way how nobody could hear it, and perhaps it's still frightened for me to understand like how he could possibly write something such a genius part. Let's say this last fourth element of the Ninth Symphony with all the choir and everything, and not properly hearing it. This is something which I will never understand, and perhaps once I will be gone from this world and I will be in somewhere else, perhaps I will meet him and he will explain that to me in different way. Hopefully he will not hit me like what I did with his music, but you know, and you know, to understand the motivation perhaps why this music was written, because there is always motivation why this kind of gorgeous, incredible piece of art are done. So, and then be able to create and take that over. This is like 10 cathedrals at the same time, and try to match it with the dance, which is like you have to be. It's scary, but at the same time, it's really satisfying when you achieve like success with it, because to put equally good dance to this incredibly beautiful music what everybody knows on the planet, it's something which is very important. But but honestly, like I'm looking for those struggle elements of those genius guys, or Michelangelo. Let's say I did for Serbia National Ballet, Michelangelo. I mean, those guys went through incredible difficult times, and what they left us with things what they will nobody will ever make better. It's not expected. You know, Sixtine Chapel is just like, it's like, how can you do something like that as a human being if you are not connected to something else, in my opinion? So I always look for these elements of creativity, and what was the leading force for them to do these things, and try to say my own story as a choreographer, like what I think is important and how important is today to not give up on education, to continue to believe and continue to work hard, because those people, that was the success. They've been continuously working hard and improving themselves. So sometimes it's like one success is not just finished and that's the end, it's just the beginning. So things like that is going in my head. So those are my motivations. But let's say now I'm preparing Coco Chanel this season, and this woman, what she changed the fashion of basically ladies forever. Before Coco Chanel and after Coco Chanel, it's different world what she left us. And then again, to figure out how to portray this lady without not to be judgmental, because who am I to judge? But at the same time to show how it's important, again, the very similar thing, not give up so easily. Fight for your beliefs. Try to figure out your own language, your own voice. I mean, these are my kind of hypothetical motivations almost behind every single creations, like look and fight for my own voice. Hopefully voice which is heard and then appreciated by the public, because I do care a lot. And this is something what Mr. Kyliána always keeps saying, you have to care to whom you're going to present this. It's not about you. It's about the work and what you want to say, because those people come freely to watch your work. They are not obliged to watch your work. They take the money, their time, which is precious these days, and they go to see something. So you have to show a lot of respect, and this I cherish, because these are absolutely I have a couple of sentences of Mr. Kyliána written in my small book, because these things are just for me the top thing how choreographers should behave towards the public, not only because I'm famous or I'm good, so I can put and impose on you whatever I want. I think it's wrong. I think it's ticket to disaster. I think Mr. Kylián, that's why I also respect and have so much admiration for him, because I could see, despite he's now 76, 40, 50 years later, he still cares even more than before how, why, and how he's going to present his work to public. So like that is taken, and then perhaps the message is passed. So it's incredible. This is something that's my way, I hope.
Yeah, that's good. It's very interesting. You were talking about about the big personalities in the world, but also how those people worked hard and how they achieved something or managed to bring their input or imprint in the world by their discoveries or by their big artwork or by something, by the message they had towards the society. Who do you think would be now at this very moment this kind of person you would maybe think about to make a story about?
At the moment,
yeah.
At the moment, as I said, I'm working on Coco Chanel, but there is couple of people in the history, which some painters, some sculptors, some compositors, composers, which they have such a strange and stunning past. But it's important to, I think, to kind of bring them back and then talk about that past. But yeah, there is so many, let's say, like also life of Tchaikovsky, and especially now with the Russia, what's happening in Russia, and that all the problematics with the homosexuality and LGBTI and everything. I think, there was so many beautiful movies done. Of course, when I was living in Czechoslovakia, there was also this movie which was really done socialistic way about Tchaikovsky's life, which was not completely truth. In all honesty, to show like we are sometimes busy here now in our societies at the moment with things which are not important at all, and we constantly are afraid and constantly are judging everybody. But for me, the most important thing is when, if somebody like, let's say, Tchaikovsky is such a gift to art. I'm taking just example of Mr. Tchaikovsky, but an art of the, let's say, dance music, because most of the most important dance ballets are done with this genius guy. And plus, I don't care what is his private life. Why is so important? Why is so important? Why is not important like if he's great person, good person, or bad person? Your privacy is not my business. It's that's you do home. That's your thing. And I feel sometimes like the privacy and Facebook and TikTok and all those I don't know, WhatsApps and I don't know, all those social media are always preoccupied by so unimportant things, instead of to see Jesus Christ, that in that time the music what he created was very contemporary in a sense. And then 150 years later, it still sold out most of the most important theater all over the world. I mean, how many of those composers you can put next to each other? Let's say that's one of the examples and things like that. So it's, for me, it's just like, yeah. And if I go back to Mr. Beethoven and his Ninth Symphony and the Schiller's Oda of Joy, and then, brotherhood and how much we have to help each other and how much we have to, and then did we move further 200 years later from that premiere of Mr. Ninth Symphony, Mr. Beethoven Ninth Symphony? Well, of course, we did so many steps further, but so many ways it feels like we go backwards now again. So I think it's important to be honest. All the gender topics now and how it becomes such a big drama I'm like, I did the ballet unanswered questions now for our company, which talks about this gender, about bisexuality, homosexuality, transsexuality, anything. Well, okay, yeah, it's the era, it's the question of normal has become slightly different what I used as I was young, what was normal for me. But still is the humans. Why are we not talking about the humans and why certain humans have these troubles? Why, what is the, there's so many things within these topics. So I think it's important to talk about those things on stage, and theater should be always free platform to be able to very nice way, very elegant and very professional way, very artistic way to talk about anything like that, about fascism, about everything, what is in our DNA as a human. The honesty, again, honesty on stage, it has to attract the problems of the today's generations, because yeah, it's we have to deal with those. We cannot say it's done and it can be easily resolved. No, it will take some time to understand what's going on actually.
I'm very grateful for your answers, because sometimes I think when I follow what's going on in dance world, that everybody just talks about love and and about loss and about such primal human feelings. But what you are saying is just another point of view. And I can say also that many people understand ballet as this kind of art, very gentle, very feelings like and emotions like and so on, but not up to the point. And you think it's important that we think contemporary ballet world should orientate in this, should use the power of ballet art to be contemporary also in its message.
Yeah, I think it's obligation of the dance, because it's still the evolution of the dance is incredible. The dancers, how they are trained, what they know now, and what they are asked to know. I would not want to be 20 again, because it's incredible how much demands we have on them, on technical side, but on emotional side as well. But I do believe also national theaters or theaters like ours should not be national museums. We have to definitely respect us, which I love classical ballet, and do it as much as we can and as best we could. But in the same time, we have to bring our own topics, I think, because someone else 10 years, 20 years later has to push the car further. It would be so pretentious to just talk about this simple, beautiful thing, how sun is beautiful and a blue sky all the time. It's not the case. We are living such a strange world. I mean, and I think, what's happening now in Israel, in Palestine, what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, what's happening in many places around the world, it has to be influential in such a way to our works. I think we have to speak freely and openly and honest about this. I think if not, I'm sorry, I will use a lot of time, Mr. Kylián, but he's really my hero. He said to me, if Tchaikovsky and Petipa will not risk their neck, we will not have Swan Lake. Because that time when Swan Lake was put on and first performance was not such a success, almost disaster, we don't know, maybe public was not ready for that. Same thing like Stravinsky's, Rite of Springs. What the effect on dance it has. Music, what nobody could be, the public was simply not prepared for that. So we have to have this bravery to come up with the thing honestly and prepare ourselves. Perhaps it will be not like it. Not everybody will like it immediately. But to educate our public is important as well, to present them, to make them to sing, to make them to, I think the worst thing is after performance is when people come home and then you ask, how was it? And then they say, well, it was quite nice. And then they go and they fall asleep. I prefer when they come, listen, I did black and white, my own version of Svanek, which we presented also in Slovenia, on base of cancer elements and cancer treatment and everything. And the success of it is incredible for me. We go to Korea next year to present it for 6 weeks tour. And we've been in China, in Canada. It's such a great ballet, and people talk about it. People are, why? Wow. And then they start, oh, and it means that, or it means not, or even perhaps they don't like it. How dare he took Tchaikovsky music, he did some, but they talk. They come home and maybe they argue. Perhaps even the couples argue among themselves. And that's what I feel that then the art is done well, because then people talk, and that performance continues to change the perspective of the public. As I said, the worst scenario is when it happens, when you kind of, the people ask you like, what do you think? And then you are kind of like politically correct. You say like, well, it was nice. I think, oof, this is something what I always, I try to, I like when it happens, when we are pushing and modulate people to what we try to achieve.
My question before you were telling us all this was, when you go, for instance, out of your circle of artists, of your circle, of your community, out from your community where you work, and then you present your work elsewhere, do you find there's certain kind of other way of thinking about the problems, about the certain issues, about this kind of topic? How do you then get the reviews on that, and how does this affect your future work?
I mean, this is a very good question, because of certain nations, certain parts of Europe even, or America, there is certain way how they feel what is the priority of aesthetic. Today, Europe is much more, always there is so many creators and there is so much things going in Europe, sometimes more than around the world. But sometimes you go to Asia, for instance, and how much they work hard and they push, and then suddenly you are surprised how much they come also with the small groups, how daring and how risky they can be as well. It's of course it's important to think when you go abroad to also understand what the public is like in certain, let's say, Belgrade, or I don't know, in Germany, public in Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Serbia is completely different public. But there is some links which are together, which I believe when it's good, when the quality is good, they don't have to necessarily agree with the topic you're presenting, but they should appreciate at least the quality of the work. So that's for me, I'm not bending sometimes, because in order to be successful, I'm not going to just, because I want to come back or I want to be successful, I will do to please people. If I have strong issue or topic which I would love to present, and I think it's suitable for that particular company because of typing of dancers and everything, I go for it. And I think it's important to be not afraid to actually perhaps sometimes even break the boundaries in those countries. And sometimes it's shocking for them, and sometimes it can be really revealing for them. Wow, someone else dared to speak about what we actually felt, but nobody did it. Everybody took it this easy road. So I like certain amount of risk in it. I think it's important because my priority is to be honest and then do as best as I can that moment, not necessarily like I'm such a successful guy. So the success will come eventually anyhow if the work is good. I'm not afraid of that. And then sometimes, as I said, people or public just simply needs a little bit more time to understand what's going on. Because let's say, I give the example here, what happened, let's say in the end of Beethoven 9th Symphony, I took it as there is a lot of projections about wars in different countries, and then also what's happening in China, how many leaders we produced last 50 years, communistic leaders, Mao, Kim Jong-un, there is a lot of craziness happening in Korea, America bombarding Iraq, and in 90s, that's everything there. So when we had the premiere, I received so many emails. It was nice success, but also so many emails I received from the public. Some people that really, they felt like, how dare I to put something terrible on such a beautiful piece of music? I destroyed the feeling for them. And even, you know, like during the Hitler Germany, how many times this symphony was used for propaganda as well. But funny thing happened when war in Ukraine started. And suddenly they see this last 20 minutes of this work. And there is this today's reality happening actually on stage and bombarding innocent people. And we try to conquer space which doesn't belong to us and all those things. Suddenly I have a completely different comments from the public, and how amazing how they are shocked, almost like how visionary it was. Like if I knew there will be war before, I had no clue. It just, I felt like the producing of our leaders of today, we are struggling, because who are those leaders of today? There is nowhere to immigrate anymore. When I was young, there was at least somewhere to go to and immigrate. But now America is also in mess. Germany is mess. France is in mess. It's hard to find a country, proper country, probably New Zealand, far away, to feel like, wow, I mean, it's getting crazy what's happening around the world. So yeah, and it's put on and it's funny how people reacted immediately to it. But 6 months, 7 months earlier was 50-50. And after that, now it's like such a success, and people are shocked, and they are so appreciative, like they see it, and it makes them to think.
Is there something you would never do? Like something you would really, really never do?
Never, that's a good thing. That's a good question. That's a very hard question. Well, I will never put like dog excrement on the critic's face, like Marco Goeke did, but I will, you know, some choreographers, sometimes they use the nakedness, and then people, I don't know, pee on stage, or I still believe, like, because for me theater is like when you come to church, it's certain way it has to have this special feeling about once you come to theater. It's for me like a cathedral, St. Paul's Cathedral, or I don't know, in Rome, and then you have to be humble and we are servants of the art. So I try to serve as much as I can in my knowledge at this particular moment to art. So I don't want to damage it. I don't want to know. So I'm very careful, you know, to be vulgar, to be arrogant, to be things. I think those things doesn't belong on stage. In a way, and brutal, you know, if it's maybe portrait in one section but as a choreographer, just I don't care, I just do whatever because I can, you know. I think no, this is something what I will never allow to just do whatever I want. I think it's too simple and it's too selfish from that point, like, because I want, you have to see it. No, the way it has to have always quality and certain level of, you know, it has to have a, you know, like a good piece of Belgian chocolate. You know, you want to have that taste, and you don't want to stop. Instead of like, you're like, my God, this is such a crap, you know. So no, this is something what I do hope I will never produce something terrible like that. But I have also friends, what they promised me, they will always tell me.
That's great. That's for friends of war as well. Well, we are talking more about your choreographic work, which I actually like sometimes more than talking about dancing.
Okay.
Yes. But, you know, when the show is over, the performance is over, then there's this person we call critic, who comes and judges somehow your work, instead of maybe adding something to your work, or I don't know, I have maybe stupid suggestions for those people. But basically, those of us who don't attend performances and don't see them, we expect to have proper insight and maybe, you know, wrapping up what they saw and what the feeling is and what's going on and what's the theme of the performance and what are the most important questions and what's the most important message. But what is your experience about it, about the critics towards your work, and were there any bad or good you can share with us?
You know, this is very good question. The topic of the critics. We're struggling in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, to have a really good critics when they criticize, if they put their opinion about the show, then they will also, in my opinion, they should also explain why they feel about the show, not just simply write, oh, this was bad. Well, if you want to put somebody's down, you find a way to put somebody's down. That's no question. For me, it's like, again, and it takes it. There was a couple of critics, unfortunately, that passed away because those gentlemen and ladies, they've been very educated. They've seen and they compare, they travel around the Europe. So the vision was much bigger. At the moment, we're struggling with those who they are simplify things and they just say, well, that person was not doing this beautifully, or this choreographer, this show was like that. But it just, okay, I'm very open to discuss. You don't have to love my work. But then if you say this was bad, then can you please also write why it was bad? I laugh always when there is one critic, one lady in Slovakia, she's great about that because I admire her. And sometimes she's right. I don't have to, sometimes I disagree, but in the same time, you could feel there is also education behind it. She knows what she's writing. She's taking care to writing in the right words. And then also when she claims something, she always have a good reasons to say, okay, and always she think, I think. She doesn't say, you know, generally, I think, I don't like this particular, perhaps this section of this ballet because this. And I find that such a stunning but unfortunately we have only few of those. Most of them are just young kids, what they just finished the school, hardly any experience. They come to theater and they write something based on what they feel. But for me, that's, you know, but as Warhol said, bad critics sometimes is the best promo to your work. So, but you know, like I think it's important to have a people but they have to have certain level which we are not having at the moment, because of past, because of there was a couple of years kind of missing that old generation kind of simply just fade out and the new generation is strong enough, or is very superficially they're judging in such a superficial way when it makes you angry instead of, because it's nice as an artist or as a dancer to read something. Sometimes it's, of course, it's beautiful when they say beautiful things about you, but if they sometimes write things which are not pleasant to watch or read, but it's also nice to hear, but they also say, oh, but perhaps I have to focus next time in my performance on this, or, you know, to make you again think as an artist, as a creator, as a performer, how you can do better. Still, best critics are, of course, general public, because either it's mostly sold out or almost sold out, or if it's half empty, you don't need critics. It's done. Public is the best critic. So. And you know, and I think it's important, and it's important, and it's also it's part of our job to be brave enough to, when we present something, to expect perhaps there will be someone who will not dislike, but I just I just really oppose those people who can hurt. They're hurting purposely, because sometimes you can feel it's written from the way you just hurt. It's not the written way to help either creator, either performer, either scenographer, anybody from particular production to next time to do better, or to be more attentive to certain elements, productions perhaps they didn't succeed this time. So, but it's important part of our being, and I'm not afraid of criticism. And I always post it to dancers so they can see it. And sometimes, you know, but sometimes it's also a case like they talk about whole production and there is hardly anything written about dancers. And that's for me also the error of the thing, like, okay, you don't have to again respect or like what I presented, but I'm sure there was some, you know, some variations or some duets or anything done beautifully, even perhaps not towards your taste, but the dancers did an incredible job. Dancers are not responsible. They just simply do their job, what they've been asked to. So this is something, but this process. I do hope in a couple of years we will have again a couple of those kids who are now around their 20s, late 20s, hopefully in 10 years from now, because they will see and they will absorb more. Hopefully we will have a better level of the critics in our countries than we have at the moment, unfortunately.
We haven't, we did not discuss about your team. Are you alone when you create, or who are your most closest people you work with? Like with set design or costumography or lighting, you have your steady team, or you just move on with other people?
I do change sometimes when I do smaller production, but with the big productions, I have almost my steady team, like two ladies who I work often with costumes and one guy or two gentlemen who I work always for scenography. And these are the best times because it's so nice to meet and then open bottle of wine and start to talk, and also perspective from the scenography, from perspective of costumes. It's like it's so amazing to see the other part of the production, how important it is, and because in my opinion it has to be at the same level. Nobody should surpass each other. Music, dance, costumes, scenography, lighting, everything should be top quality. So, and it's very educational in many ways, and it's very inspiring to see. And sometimes from perspective you have some idea, but the scenograph comes with the better idea or change the spacing completely. So it actually inspires you to rethink the whole section. Same thing, costumes, or these are the best moments of before creation start physically in the studio with the steps, to have certain few, sometimes it depends on the production, at least 10, 5, 15 times to meet for 1 hour, 2 hours, and simply talk about the era, about the costumes, what they represent, how it should be linked, what, let's say, Coco Chanel liked, what she didn't like, what, you know, and then, you know, these are very, this for me the most, actually I love this creative process of to listen to other guys, what they have to say, and then also I'm very lucky to have a great ballet masters, what they know me now. And the dancers, what they know me after 10 years, so now they start, it's not me coming with every single step, it's actually we are creating it together, because now they start to understand my way of thought process, and they start to give also, so they are implementing themselves much more, which is stunning, because they are not just executing my wishes. It's much more fun, and sometimes they come with much better decisions than I do. So which is great. So no, this is the best part, to feel involved as many people. Of course, I'm the decision maker, but I love to involve as many people as possible to create this creativity team of the people. And sometimes we go over maybe too much, but it's so important to just put it on the table. And you know, when you have like Indonesian food and they have so many bits of everything, and you just eat it, and it can be such a nice meal and such a nice dinner. I prefer that than just to be like me, I'm the king. Well, that's also a ticket to disaster.
You nicely described the feeling. I like this Asian way of sharing food. The same.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, like then you have a different taste. You have spicy, you have sweets, you have like French, food. And it's so nice it's so nice to actually listen the other art forms. They have always a lot of things to say. I don't feel like ballet or creation should be more important than costumes. It has to be in a hand-to-hand. And same thing, scenography, I have to respect it. I cannot just say otherwise then I have to design it by myself. Why I need scenography if I, it's nice to have a team and they also read, they feel the movies. There is this beautiful movie, Igor and Coco, Igor Stravinsky and Coco Chanel. It's stunning movie, which is not that known. It should have Oscars, but never won anything. But that movie is incredibly incredible about this movement. So this, everybody finds, and we buy each other books, or send each other like some YouTube's versions of Coco Chanel now, 21st century kind of, when they have a presentation of the costume is incredible. So things like that, what they can, it's such inspirational to take different things.
I really like how I inspired your talk.
I know I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No. You became so vivid, and it's so nice to hear when people describe the work, the teamwork. It's so important to hear that and to know what's behind of each creation. It's deep teamwork. But there's one last question maybe I would like to ask you. It's about your artistic leadership. This is somehow connected with what we just were talking about, and I'm so very interested in that. Hearing from you, what is your main focus when you act as an artistic director of the company, artistic leader? How do you choose the repertory? What are your main tasks, and what are your main challenges?
Oh, this is a great question. This one is again. I will go again to Mr. Kylián, because he's my hero. He's my kind of like a role model. It's important. I believe also there is many elements of that question, because let's say from perspective as an artistic director in Brno, it's important to understand. I think before, when you start to do something, history of this company, and see and understand your public, in which point the public is, to be sensitive enough and observant, and not too judgmental, let's say, if you don't like it personally. But then again, where you see your company 5 years or 10 years, there should be clear vision of what you want to achieve. Because if you just kind of start to put things one by one without not making sense, I don't believe it's going to work. Because of course it's a process on all levels, even for me as an artistic director, to understand 10 years ago and what's now public in 2023 in Brno, which kind of program we are, which kind of repertoire we have. Important the structure of your company, which kind of company you have when you come as the artistic leader, and which kind of company you love to have, but not the way, like, let's say what happened in Austria. The new director comes and fires 50 dancers without almost properly seeing them, but actually to be sensitive enough to first watch them and see the quality in them, and then give them chance to either continue and inspire them to continue to perhaps change the vision to something what you brought up as the artistic leader, or perhaps not in later on. But it has to be again done such a human and careful way. It cannot be just like I have a power and I just now going to disrespect what was everything done here. I think it's stupid, and many directors, unfortunately, I can feel they do that, or they don't care so much. They come They don't know the country so much. They have a job. They have a power to do basically because it's a certain way. It can be power trip. I try to avoid as much as I can to not be director who use the power just because it's important to. Because even if you fire somebody or you let go one of your dancers or a couple of dancers, those people. It's not easy for them now to find a job. Sometimes they are couples. Sometimes they have to move. Family have to move. I think these things are very. Everything has to be very careful thought. At least the chance has to be given. If the other side doesn't want to have that chance or feels like this is completely against what I believe and I want to do something, it's fine. But I think there is way how you do those things. Repertoire is also important. Yes, like I like certain type of the repertoire, but I believe also there is certain timing has to be right. Because what I like not necessarily mean public in Brno will like immediately. So it should be thought, and also if it makes economically, if it's economically correct or it makes sense economically, because sometimes we have beautiful productions, but they're economically disastrous, and sometimes we have productions what you will say is not your cup of tea, and there is full audience. So continuity is one very important part, and it takes time. I will use Mr. Kyliána again, like he said to me, when you have a company, it's like a garden, and you have to take care of the garden. And when you come to space, you plant every single seeds, but sometimes, unfortunately, some of them grow to make beautiful tree or plant, and some of them don't. You have to replant sometimes. Sometimes you have to, the colors, they don't make sense when they, So, and then sometimes you have to be clever enough to sometimes put enough water. Too much water can kill them. So I think it's such an amazing way how he describes it. And I strongly believe it's such a important to have those sensors on all those elements. As I said, structure of the company is important. Respect the past and what is the past and what is going to be the present and the future. Which kind of budget you have, which kind of repertoire you have, and what you want to achieve and what you want to bring and how you want to educate the public. Let's say, so it's job 24/7. But I love my job, and I had the best guy to follow it and to see it on daily basis, because the leader and artistic leader, and then at the same time to be authority, and at the same time to be visionary, and at the same time like economical guy, and at the same time you have to be almost like a mother and father, and at the same time you have to be psychologist and psychiatrist. Because sometimes, and same time you have to be like Iron Terrible, and same time you have to be, proud and show them you're proud, and at the same time you have to be able, and that's one of the things, to be able to say, listen, guys, I did wrong. I'm sorry. In front, not be afraid to say, I did wrong, and I did wrong. We try it again. Or at the same time, surround yourself with the better people in many areas than you are yourself. So you have a great team. So I can control, but delegate, because it's so important to give those people, to give the chances, and they can excel, because when they feel and once they believe in my vision, and they have a freedom to create also, let's say from perspective PR or videos, or I don't know, selling the tickets or anything. I think once this is important, then once this is established, then then it's not anything only on the artistic leader's shoulders. It's spread among the entire team, and then it spreads towards the dancers, because then when dancers start to believe this is the right direction, and this guy is not afraid to say, and he's not afraid if it's beautiful, sunny weather, well, everybody is happy. But if it's stormy, if it's terrible premiere, well, the artistic director has to be able to take responsibility, like it was my choice, and so there is it's huge what you ask. So and you try to do as best you can, as honest as you can on daily basis, and that's what I try to achieve. I try to, as I said, my mentor, my God, they did such an incredible. I mean, if I be honest with you, Mr. Kylián did for 7 years or for many years exactly what I described on all those levels, just stunning job. Smart enough, stunning people around him, trust his technicians, the way how he talked to technicians, the way how he talked to his dancers, the way how you talk to public, the way how you talk to critics, the way how you present, how you welcome people. I mean, and be human, because once it becomes power trip, I believe that's a ticket to disaster. And then, as I said, the most important thing, what he says, and I believe so strongly because I feel that's the right things to be. We should not ever forget we have a power, but we should not misuse it. And then think we are servant too. We are servant to art. This company is not a Radačovský company. If I finance it from my own pocket, okay, then I can possibly do. But I'm serving National Theatre. I try to put all my knowledge and all my passion to it as best I can, but I'm servant for the art form. The art form should be and quality and high level standard art form should be the priority, not the kingdom of Radačovský, It's completely wrong motivations. It depends which are your motivations. I strongly believe if they're honest and generous and everything what I described, then success will arrive sooner or later. But if you have a motivations to climb on somebody else's back and to build the kingdom because you are the king, every kingdom fall apart, race and fall down. So good luck. I'm not that kind of king.
So nicely said for the conclusion. I'm really happy that you shared with us complete insight of your work. Maybe to go deeper, we would need another hour. Unfortunately, this time we don't have time, but I'm sure if we find a topic to talk about with you, I would be honored to have you as a guest again.
Same for me. It was such a nice, great questions, lovely questions. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you. And now I'm waiting for the final question from Natasha, if she has some. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Hvala.
Hello. Yes, I was wondering the whole time. You said that the people are saying the classical ballet is dying, and it's not. I agree with you. It's evolving with the new ideas and everything. And it's trying to use the topics which are important now in the world. But then I was thinking, well, not now. I'm thinking this for quite some time. How to look at classical ballet, I mean the old classical ballet, how to restage it, because usually these are reconstructions of some pieces from a past era which doesn't have any connection with our world here. So how to deal with that?
It's a good question. My opinion to your question is classical ballet is, as I said, is such a beautiful tool and such a beautiful thing what was left from the past to us, and we have to cherish it. And because dancers are getting better and the technique is still evolving, it's still strong, but we should not forget emotional side of those ballets as well. As much as the technique is evolving and they are doing such amazing thing technically, still the most important part of it equally should be artistry. to focus still on the storytelling, storyline, how it's presented, and perhaps, and it has to be, again, in my opinion, very honest way. Yes, I don't know original. We had it written in the scores how it was done. Let's say Giselle or Swan Lake. We never saw it because we never had the possibility like today of the visuals. But now I believe also that the elements and the choreography is so strong, even 140 years later, and the quality of the dancers is still improving. So it's even more aesthetically, is even more aesthetically beautiful than it used to be. These are not even judging the past, but just because we have a beautiful body, more beautiful dancers and everything on stage than we used to have, perhaps, or the technique different, extensions, the point work is different, the technique presented on the stage is different, much more strong. It should never become a circus. It has to be still art. And define the level between the circus and the art is very hard, in a sense. But to your question, which is very difficult one, in a sense, to say, yes, it's the tradition. Perhaps, yeah, every single representative of certain foundation, there is also modulation to movement. So let's say Baumeister first one leg, and if someone else will now bring it, there will be perhaps slight unconscious changes because that ballet master will already modulate it slightly, but still 90%, at least 90% of that version is still almost as original one. So I always give that small amount of space to improve that quality of that work. Let's say Don Quixote of Nureyev and Don Quixote now, Jose Martinez did such a beautiful version of Don Quixote, which I prefer much more than Mr. Nureyev version. It's also a question of the taste. But I still do believe classical ballet is still the most beautiful, most aesthetic, if it's done well, form of dance, and most difficult one, because not everybody could do it. That's the thing. The other styles, they have much more chance for many dancers, perhaps less talented classically. They are stunning movers, and they can do other styles than the classical repertoire. And yeah, it's up to us to present it away, because often also I hear the argument like, oh, it's too old. And often it's the people who say that it's too old, it's old-fashioned of the moving, because they cannot do it properly. It's coming like excuse, oh, it's old-fashioned thing. Well, darling, if you are, as a creator, create something which 140 years later will be one of the most successful production around the world in most of the major theaters or regional theaters, and keep selling out every night thousands and thousands of people, then perhaps you can judge. That's my opinion on that. It's still something which is amazing and which is important to maintain. And it's important to say to young kids to equally to not be so easily just, oh, it's old. No. You have to also put it to context when it was created and why it was created. I think then they will start to see different perspective from whole classical repertoire, which is incredible. I strongly believe that. I always love to do it as a interpret. That I love to be classical dancer, and it's the hardest form.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we have to say goodbye. Thank you to both of you for a very interesting talk, and see you.
Thank you so much for your time, and I do hope I didn't bombard you with too many thoughts.
No, it's good that you talked, that's really important when you have an interviewer that you have to pull words from him. It's more difficult. Yeah, it's nice.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
All the
you.
best.
Bye
You're
bye.
anytime
very much.
welcome in Brno to
Yeah.
watch our
Thank
productions.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
And you too.
Yeah,
You
I'm
are most
still. I
welcome to
wanted
come.
to provoke you a little bit still about the classical ballet, you know, because for me, I was a ballerina also. I danced in the theater. And even at that time, I was questioning old productions, so like Swan Lake, Don Quixote, or whatever, you know, Giselle, because they really belong to some era which doesn't have a lot of connection with us. It's like a fairy tale. Yeah, okay. Well, sometimes it produces wrong ideas about the world, which nowadays don't resonate anymore. So for me, I just read about Kathy Marston, that she, because I hope we'll be so lucky to have an interview with her, but only next year. And I was reading about her, how she works and everything. And she's using a dramaturg from the beginning, the same one, you know, to when she's staging her ballets. So she first works with him. And this, I find this really important. But if I'm going back to the old ballets, I think that they should be somehow restaged, you know, not staged as a reconstruction of the world, which is not existing anymore, but to use the ideas, the connection and everything, but stage it a little bit different so that it has more meaning to this world now, you know.
Because, you know, certain ballets, let's say Sleeping Beauty, when you perform it as it was written, then it's 4 hours long. And I've seen it also in Mariinsky. I went and it's gorgeous.
Oh,
but
so, excuse me, Bayadere, you know, about the ideas about the women and everything in Bayadere. It's nowadays it's really questionable, you know. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I understand what you're saying. I think it's important to be able to properly cut. We can cut certain things, or we can speed up certain moments. Let's say in Bayadere, when it's the sections when they talk, is the hands like pantomime. It can be. It depends who is setting it and how you can mold it. You can have a nice logical cuts and speed up the process, because the public of 1900s is not the same public like now, 2023.
Of course.
You don't need to see 10 hours, 10
No,
minutes.
but also not just that. Also the attitude towards women, it's questionable in La Bayadere, you know, when you.
But let's say, let's say in England they were not able to perform anymore Bayadere because there is certain issues towards the women. There is issues from the former past, because India or Orient or everything, and then. But in the same time, for me, it's like, listen, this is also the past. It doesn't represent. We think same way. We don't think same way about things like what they did. It represents certain past. I think it's quite, in my opinion, it's stupid if we will not perform Bayadere because there are suddenly some people raise these issues. Let's say in Montreal, they came. One Chinese group, they came and they say they don't want to represent it this way in the Chinese dance because it's almost like too funny and it's not the same like in Chinese people in their folk dance will dance. Now everybody, I feel like there is so many groups always have something to say, and so many people feel they have right to say. And if you go in this kind of path, sooner or later we will lose almost all our classical ballet productions, and that's well, it's again how you put it, how you do it, how you deal with it, how you clearly say, listen, this is representing the past, this is representing what it used to be. This is just little small mark of the era. Has nothing to do how our company, our theater feels about this kind of topics of today. So this is something what we has to be discussed, and I will be opposition to those who will want to put certain ballets away only because they feel like now this time they have rights to do so. But as you absolutely rightly said, the certain ballets can be reconstructed slightly different, can be shortened, certain sections can be more compact. We don't need as much this fairy tale storying, like, and now you go from A to B and from B to C. People have much more, they saw much more these days than they used to say that time, 100 years ago. So there can be, but this is every single guy who is doing this kind of ballets. They should be clever. The team should be clever how to take the best and put it as a compact version for it doesn't lose anything from their dramaturgic point of view, doesn't lose anything from the music point of view, and still can work. Because let's say we have a Sleeping Beauty at our company, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but normally we cut more than 1 hour. Same thing when we did the creation of Romeo and Juliet. There is also some sections of music which was been written, but they have modern version. You don't need certain music for. We also cut maybe 45 minutes of the original music, and still can be beautiful production of Romeo and Juliet. Let's say, but this is more today's work. But same thing with Giselle, same thing with Raimonda. To be honest, I'm not such a big fan of Corsair production, but then I saw such a beautiful version of Jose Martinez in Tallinn, which was so smartly done, so beautifully put together. And suddenly I was like, wow, that's good. That was actually quite nice. It's still not my favorite, but okay. So yeah, it's the question of aesthetics. It's question, what do you feel about those ballets? But I do agree with you that there should be work done to make those classical ballets can be cut or molded so it's presentable in 21st centuries. But this question also was the motivation. If you want to really notorically reconstruct something from the past and then show this is really by every single step, every single aesthetic, perhaps it's going to be disaster because it doesn't.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Or you can mold it and you can make it still work. I do believe Giselle or Swan Lake or Bella, let's say Swan Lake, you can take it like as, okay, there is a white swan and black swan. But for me, it's such an amazing thing to describe women, untouched women and women with experience, something which is so pure and some almost like there is certain sexuality in it involved if you want to look at it, and very, very gentle and very, very aesthetic and very build the trust and everything. And woman which is much more mature, be with men already, and then have a different side of different kind of element of that size. I mean, there is many ways how you can see and find the motivations in it. But for me, always is the motivation why you do that. Why Giselle is so naive? But it's today's life. Why the girls are so naive? It's the way how you see it. Even today, so many girls go for certain things such a naively, wrongly. It's almost like Giselle. Of course, Giselle is romantic, but it's the topic which is in those ballets, which I believe is still topics which are today's life. It depends if you find them and if you want to see them or not. It's the choice. And how you present those topics, of course, in the classical ballet. If you really, if you are just really correct as a dancer, or if you really give emotions and give the priority, like really, when you play those roles, like, oh wow, that's really like, you have a goosebumps on your body. That's the difference.
Yeah, but it's only classical ballet that holds on tradition like this. If you look at the drama theater, They never do it, they never reconstruct. But for example, Japanese no plays, they are still produced as they were centuries ago, So yeah.
It's a tradition. It depends how strong
I
is
know it's a
tradition in your
tradition,
country.
yeah. But
There's many things involved in it. I mean, is Slovenian public is traditional public or not? Is Slovenian public?
It is.
But if the work which is presented new for them makes them to evolve as a public, so they are receptive to start to have works which are much more contemporary, much more with today's topic, much more provocative, much more actually make them to think or not if they want to. There is. But I always I answer already this, like, you should take a risk. Everybody should take a risk. Otherwise, we will not go further.
Dawson's Giselle, it's perfect. This is it.
Matsa Eka, Giselle.
Yeah, also. These kind of productions, I think they work nowadays. They have an idea which they produce an idea which is really important now. But all these old productions, they lack something.
I don't think so. I will strongly oppose you.
I know.
Because I think, now sometimes I oppose people because, like, sometimes they say, why you didn't do Traviata new way? Okay, that's great. You can do Traviata new way like Netrebko did, but why you cannot do Traviata the old way, but the really good one? Because there is not that many people they can do it very well the old way. There is not that many people they want to invest so much money because it will cost money. Because to have a production done really proper way, how it used to be, it costs much more, 10 times, 120 times more than modern version, let's say. But I still do believe the impact of the new one or old one can be the same. It depends how it's presented. And I don't believe the old ballet has nothing to say anymore, or old productions. If they are badly danced with the wrong principles and wrong artists, yes. If they are goodly danced with beautiful artists, with the complete dancers, because there is a lot of great dancers, but not enough artists these days, I believe still classical ballet can kick the ass of everybody else. I'm such a strong fighter for classical ballet, I'm sorry. I just came out of the rehearsal of our junior company.
Okay.
So, but it's nice. They are young and they are inspiring, but sometimes it's tiring because you teach them everything from the scratch, but in the same time, that's the future. That's the obligation. So I came with that idea. I'm happy we have the junior company, so I should not complain, actually.
How old are they?
Between 18 and 22, like NDT.
Oh, okay.
It's
They're
similar
grown-ups.
concept. It's similar concept, but there is so many things which is funny how these days, let's say, partnering disappearing from certain schools, and then you have to reteach them just basics. But otherwise, it's stunning.
Okay.
I'm not complaining. I'm ready.